What's up, everybody? You see the focus of the video here, musical artists who should be Funko Pops. Okay, I do want to go ahead and clear up just a couple of things before I get into this list. So first thing I want you to understand is that I did consider other people's opinions within this, including my own subscribers, because I did ask this question in my last Funko News video. I asked people what artists they would like to see, turned into Funko Pops. And then also, just from checking out other people's videos and in the comment sections and things, just, kind of getting a feel for what the community would really like to see as far as artists are concerned for the Pop Rocks line. And it's always funny to me to kind of say Pop Rocks because of the candy. But yeah, of course, we're talking about musical artists being turned into Funko Pops. So again, this is not just a personal list. It's not just about my favorite artists, not even just about my favorite genres. And something I want you to understand as well is that I did consider the popularity of the artist, but even more important than that is, would they actually be an interesting looking pop figure? There are a lot of talented artists out there, but I can be real and say that there are some of them I just don't think they would really make a well-designed pop, because, and as a matter of fact, I can imagine some artists, if they were a pop figure, but you took them out of the box, and somebody just, you ask somebody, who is this? They might actually struggle to tell you who it is. So that's not putting down the artist, but obviously some artists have a much more well-known look than, some other artists do. So that's what, like I said, those are the deciding factors. So if you see some artists, or I should say if you don't see certain artists, just take that into consideration. I want you to also understand this is not a countdown. I'm not trying to say certain artists are better than other artists. Now, I did kind of group the artists in certain ways to me that I wanted the video to flow. But again, I'm not trying to say certain artists are better than other ones. That's not what this is about. And of course, feel free to share your own opinions down in the comments as always. One more thing here before we get to the actual list. Before I get to the list, I really want you to be familiar with artists that are already made into pops. So again, I'm doing this really because for one thing, I want to give props to Funko. I want you to see that they do have more going on with the Pop Rocks line than some people may realize. It's just that some of the figures are older. They may be vaulted, maybe kind of difficult to get your hands on. You just have to go second market. Okay, but again, I'm doing this also because if I don't mention certain artists, I want you to see that I might not be mentioning them because they might actually already be pops. Okay, so as for example, I didn't even realize that there actually is an Ozzy Osbourne pop because I was going to put him on the list. Then I did my research. I looked around and tried to find as many artists as possible, and sure enough, I found him. Okay, and Sex Pistols, didn't know about them either. And one artist I don't have pictured here, I was kind of crammed on space, is Elvis as well. There are actually more than one Elvis pop figure, so do keep that in mind. And enough about that. Let's go ahead and get to the actual list. So a while back, and I'm not sure how many years ago it was, but Funko made a Purple Haze figure that was obviously inspired by Jimi Hendrix. So now they actually have the rights, and they are doing an official Jimi Hendrix pop. Not sure when it'll come out, but it should be pretty soon. I would say in the next month or two, hopefully, no longer than that. And they also did a Gaga Rasta figure. Now this figure is obviously inspired by the one and only Bob Marley. So I don't know how this would work with his estate, who's in charge of it exactly, but if they were willing to let his image be used, I think it would be very nice to have an official Bob Marley pop figure. And I definitely would like to see some design changes the same way that they changed up Jimi Hendrix designs. And you see that the original character, original figures there, Purple Haze and Gaga Rasta, kind of similar in design, especially the face. Okay, so I would like Bob Marley to be more distinct from that figure. And then also, I think he shouldn't have a hat on. I think he should be full out, dreads and everything. And it would be very interesting to see the sculpt and how they could do the dreads and how they could do that justice. And, whether it's, I guess the outfit, to me, they could go a lot of different directions. I think him in his army jacket that he would wear sometimes, the camel jacket would be cool. But I mean, they got a lot of options there as far as clothing is concerned, with the guitar, without a guitar. I mean, again, you know, that they could really play around with some different options there. But yeah, Bob Marley is just a national treasure for Jamaica, and really just a treasure in general. A lot of people really love his music, and I do want to point out real quick, he is more than a reggae artist that smoke weed. You know, some people, it kind of bugs me when some people just, they'll rock his t-shirts, they'll have the posters up, but they don't even listen to the music. It's just because they're potheads, basically. That really does bother me. You gotta listen to the music, and I mean really listen to it, because he says some very meaningful things within his music. Keeping it moving here, actually one of my subscribers mentioned the band Slipknot, and I was like, yes. I mean, when and I gotta be upfront with you all, I don't really listen to heavy metal. Like, only time I listen to heavy metal is when it's used in music and used within video games, which I give a lot of props to heavy metal, because it definitely works very well to drive action within movies and games, actually a lot better than most other genres. But again, I don't like, you know, take the time like in my car and other places to listen to heavy metal. But the band Slipknot, I mean, just look at them. The way that they had these masks and their outfits and everything, I like that it's very eye-catching, but not too over the top. For example, Gwar, another heavy metal band, at least I think they're considered heavy metal. I'm just not so crazy about their look. I feel like they pushed it maybe too far to where it's almost like ridiculous. And I think Gwar is actually still active as a band. But Slipknot, to me, they had that just right look. And even if you're not a fan of the band, if you're a horror fan, just look at their designs. I think that would make them great to be in your collection as well. I don't know if like Funko would be willing to do all members of the band, but I think they could go for it. Slipknot is definitely popular enough. They've sold millions and millions of albums, still active. So yeah, I think they could definitely work. Next up here, and this is definitely coming from subscriber feedback and just, you know, looking around and seeing what people were talking about. Dimebag Darrell, I'll be honest, I had to do some research to really learn who he was. You know, guitarist for Pantera, and he also was a part of another band, Damage Plan, along with his brother, I believe, and they actually were founding members of Pantera. And he had some other opportunities as well that he actually passed up to stick with his brother. So, you know, loyal guy, very, very cool, you know. And Pantera, unfortunately, disbanded due to issues, one of the members having drug problems, you know, and that's why he ended up in the band Damage Plan. And it was when he was with Damage Plan that he unfortunately was killed. And just reading the details about what happened to him, I mean, nobody deserves that. That's very sad to read. And it's also shocking that some people are still sharing the footage, because he was actually gunned down during a concert, which is just crazy. But I don't see why anybody would feel the need to share that footage. But anyway, just looking at him, you know, as an artist and the way that he styled himself, definitely some things that would stand out with the pop figure. You know, his hair, of course, including his beard, the red beard. Got the razor blade around the neck. I like that. That's very cool as well. Tattoos, of course, tatted up. You know, a lot of these artists, of course, Funko would have to get the tattoos right as much as possible. And then the guitar that he has there as well. I really like this one. I know that he used different ones, but this one with the lightning, I think it really stands out. And also, I know some people may be familiar with him using a guitar that had the Confederate flag on it, but I think Funko would probably stay away from that. And I live in South Carolina, so I definitely know how much drama that flag has caused, and I think it would be a smart move, smart business move, just to stay away from that. But to me, the lightning one, it just looks better anyway. So yeah, Dimebag Darrell, you know, R.I.P. He definitely would make an interesting pop figure, and I think a lot of people that still have love for the man would really appreciate that. So next up here, Lady Gaga. No, I'm not a big Lady Gaga fan. Although credit where credit is due, she does have some good songs, and then yes, she does have some songs that maybe sound too similar to Madonna. Madonna is definitely an influence on her. I mean, that's kind of easy to see, especially when you listen to certain songs. back to back, which I saw a YouTube video about that, and I know Madonna wasn't so happy about that. And Lady Gaga, she does kind of make it easy sometimes to tease her with some of the outlandish outfits that she wears, and you see these are examples of that. So definitely these types of outfits would not work for a pop figure, but if you kind of simplify, get and still give her sort of her glammed up appearance that she tends to have when she performs, then I think she could be done justice there. And even if you really can't stand her music, you don't like her music, whatever it may be, I think you can't take away that she is a talented artist. And she had a Super Bowl performance that got pretty high praise. Again, some people decided to tease her, which is, I'll just say this bluntly, some people could just easily be bullies sometimes, and it's kind of sickening, and that just makes me appreciate certain artists even more, just for the fact that they have to deal with that nonsense constantly. But yeah, I don't take anything away from her talent wise, and I think they definitely can make an interesting pop figure of her. Keeping it moving here, this one pretty easy, Daft Punk, and you see the main reason why. I mean, on top of them being great musical artists, which they definitely are, you know, they're musicians, DJs, producers. Yeah, they got a lot going on, but the helmets are amazing. I've always liked those, and you know, as far as the actual outfit, they could go with the suits, which I actually like, you know, based off the last album cover and the videos, and then, or they could go with the like leather suits, whatever it may be. You know, it'll be cool regardless. So as long as they get those helmets right, could be very cool looking. Yeah, and Daft Punk, super talented. Yeah, so another DJ slash producer here, Deadmau5. Again, pretty obvious why this would make a great pop figure. You know, that helmet is so cool, and to me, pretty iconic also. I mean, I don't know how Disney might feel about it. I don't know if that would be a problem. I mean, him performing with that and everything, I don't know if he's run into any issues, any copyright issues there. I really don't know, but hopefully that would not be an issue, and I think he could make a great pop figure. As a matter of fact, I could see them doing more than one version of him, at least two, maybe a common and a chase. That would be pretty awesome. I'm kind of partial to the red helmet. That's the one that really stands out to me, so I would definitely like to see that one. But again, they could mix it up with Deadmau5, and that'd be pretty awesome. Now, I do want to give you one side note before I move on. I really learned about certain artists thanks to the game series DJ Hero, which unfortunately only had 2 parts, and then Activision kind of hit a slump because they really overdid it with their guitar-based games and their band-based games. It was just too much. The market got flooded because it was Activision, and then I think I can't even remember the other company. Somebody could let me know down in the comments. But yeah, they basically overdid it, so the games got worn down and people stopped buying them nearly as much. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't think we'll ever get a DJ Hero 3, but I actually held on to my copy of DJ Hero 2 from PlayStation 3, and eventually my PlayStation did burn out after a couple of years. But eventually I do want to get another PlayStation 3 just for that game, because like I said, I kept the game and I kept at least 2 turntables that I had as well. Really love that game, and I really love the fact that it did turn me on to other musical artists that I normally, you know, wouldn't listen to. So another unfortunate situation here. We have another artist that passed away, and I know for Whitney Houston fans, it was very tough to see her basically on a downward spiral for, it felt like 20 years at least, like a long time. She was kind of on a downward spiral, but the main reason I think she deserves a pop figure, for one, I think she could visually look interesting, especially if they give her the curly hair, you know, really nice dress on her and everything. And I just want people to be able to remember her, you know, when she really was that queen, you know, that woman that was just beautiful and super talented and could hit those high notes, no problem. I really don't want people to remember her for the last few years where there was a lot of erratic behavior and poor performances and all that. You know, she deserves to be remembered for, you know, what she could be, her at her finest. So that's why I think Whitney Houston pop would be ideal. Next up here, Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash is the man. That's just point blank. And I feel like, you know, especially if you're like me, if you're a movie lover, you really had, you know, you've heard his music plenty of times, and I think you've appreciated his music plenty of times because, I mean, Hollywood uses his music a lot for a reason. He's incomparable. You cannot put anybody else's music next to his and say, oh, they sound very similar. No, his voice is very distinct. His style is very distinct. There's so much energy behind his music. And then also, as far as the pop figure is concerned, they could go with the younger Johnny Cash, with the more Western look, or they could go with the older Johnny Cash, all in black, maybe even with the coat on. I mean, they could go either way with it, and regardless, it would be awesome. And of course, the guitar along with him would be an absolute must. Next up here, Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang Clan is kind of in the same boat as Slipknot, to where I don't know if Funko would be willing to do all of the members, especially when you consider that, okay, there are 9 original members, and then unfortunately ODB did pass away, and he also was not with the group a lot of times because of jail time, and things like that, unfortunately. But Capadonna kind of stepped in as well with the group and eventually became like a core member, you might as well say. So yeah, I don't know if Funko would be willing to make that many figures for the group, but if they decide to work with Wu-Tang Clan, and let's say they just did certain artists from the group, I think Ghostface Killah he would have to be top, just because of the way that he styles himself. The robes, I don't think he does that really as much anymore, but the fly robes and the long chain, the giant medallion, the eagle that he would rock sometimes on his wrist, the finger rings, the multi-finger rings, I should say. Like, yeah, he could really stand out as a pop figure. And then second, I would say RZA, just because again, the way he styles himself, and RZA, especially with the pointy rings that he would rock sometimes, and he mainly would rock those with Gravediggers. I think that's when he really started up with that, and that's another group that he had, sort of a side project, which really became a whole other venture within itself. But there's other great artists too. I mean, I really appreciate all these guys. Like I said, I just don't know if Funko would be willing to do all of them as pop figures. I would definitely buy an ODB one, because ODB was like no other artist. Again, he's one of those artists you cannot compare anybody else to him, and he would even say that himself. He said it in the song, you cannot compare anybody's style to his. It's just so unique as an artist. And again, Method Man also being like that breakout artist from the group, the first one to really shine as a solo artist, I think he's deserving as well. But like I said, I got love for all of these guys still, even though some of the albums recently, been a little rough here and there. But, you got people like Ghostface Killah still doing consistently great work. RZA doing his thing in Hollywood. So, Wu-Tang to me is still relevant. Raekwon just dropped an album that's hot as well. So, yeah, still very relevant in my mind. Now, nobody should be surprised by this. Eminem, I think, is pretty obvious choice here. And Eminem is one of those artists where his first couple albums, I loved them. Marshall Mathers LP, just mind-blowing. And I think he did kind of go through a stage where I wasn't so into him, where he started to sort of yell all of his raps. I kind of got annoyed by that. And then with his substance abuse, he had some albums that were kind of rough, and he'll even admit that himself, but he definitely got himself back on track. He's done some amazing tracks recently, including one that he did with Big Sean. Just absolutely, he killed that verse, so, and also his campaign speech track, that was amazing too. So beyond him being an amazing artist, let's talk design here. He probably would be the most simple design out of all the artists that I'm mentioning, but I think that actually is fine. That works for Eminem. They got to get the tattoos right, of course, especially the D12 tattoo. That's a must. And the blonde hair has got to be on point, of course. And I think also just a simple white t-shirt on him works as well, because a lot of people, that's when they think of Eminem, that's what they think of, people that have been a fan for a long time, especially during the Marshall Mathers LP when he's promoting that. A lot of times he would just be simply rocking the white tee. So I think that could work, even though it'd be a simple design. I think you could still, especially with the tattoos and the blonde hair, see that that's Eminem. David Bowie, I think I mentioned this already in my last Funko News video, which, by the way, I hope anybody that's watching this is a fan of the Funko News videos as well. I would assume so. But David Bowie, an icon, you know. And it's so funny that I actually was running back through the Ricky Gervais series Extras, which is a phenomenal comedy series, by the way. To me, one of the best ever. And David Bowie actually had a episode that he was featured in, and he just gave such a funny performance. He did a musical performance that was hilarious. I don't know how in the world he kept a straight face, but he did an amazing job there. And like I said, the man is just an icon. Again, you probably heard his music, even if you haven't listened to his albums directly. His music is just so big in pop culture that you've heard his music somewhere, you know, whether it be TV or movies, you know, or just you're in stores and his music is playing. He's just that big. And we do have pop figures of him, at least two, I believe, of him based off of his appearance in the movie Labyrinth. But no, we need him as an artist. And I will say, I think they really could do two versions of David Bowie. They could do an older version of him, and then they could do a younger, glammed up version of him as well. And I think they both would be, you know, pretty big sellers. The final artist I'm going to mention here, and this should be no surprise because I did mention him in my last Funko News as well, Prince. We absolutely need Prince as a pop figure. I don't know how that would work as far as, you know, with his estate, who's in control. I know his music is with Tidal, with Jay-Z's company, streaming company, but you know, as far as his image is concerned, I really don't know how that would work, but that would be a must. I think there would be so many people that would really appreciate that. And this is something interesting as well. Now with Prince, I would say you really only need one figure, and it could be based off of his Purple Rain look. You know, you see the album cover there, or I guess like movie cover, however you look at it, because I think it was the same image used for the movie in the soundtrack. But look at that image of him, and look at these images of him when he's older. You see, the man really didn't age much, you know, so that's why I say he really doesn't need more than one pop figure, because he just really did not age that much. You know, if they wanted to do a different version, I guess they could mix it up and put him with the guitar. That is a fly guitar, you know, so yeah, it'd be their choice there, but I think Prince would be so appreciated by the masses, and I think it would do well. That's all there is to it. And he's definitely an icon. My personal favorite Prince song is I Will Die For You. So much energy in that song, and there's no build up. It just boom, like it just starts up. Amazing track, and he has a lot of other great songs as well. And he was consistent with putting music out, you know, throughout his career, even up until his last years of life, you know. So yeah, Prince definitely needs to have a pop figure if Funko can make it happen. So there it goes, y'all. That's my list. I definitely want to hear what you think about my list, but also which artists you would like to see as pop figures. And I want you to keep the same thing in mind, not just popularity, you know, would it sell well? Because remember, Funko is a company. That is a factor, you know, that is definitely a factor you have to consider. But also think about design. Would that artist really stand out? Would it be a pop figure that could be recognizable outside of the box? So yeah, keep that criteria in mind there. And thank you all for watching. I definitely appreciate it, you know, especially if you stuck with me all the way through. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll talk to you all again real soon.